We're doing a speed typing of Winona Ryder. I've been just going by the assumption that she's a self-pres social, 6-wing 7, 9-wing 1, 4-wing 3, probably for the last like 3 years when I typed.
Like 10 years ago, I don't know why, but I assumed she was a 4-wing 3. So, but I haven't looked much since.
I'm definitely intrigued by the notion that she could be a 4-wing 3, so I'm open.
Is my favorite line. Watchdogs and Diet Coke heads. I mean, I know the movie by heart. I had actually just gone through something where a girl had committed suicide who was, called everything from a freak, a witch, just a girl who dressed differently and who was kind of goth. And she committed suicide in my school. And then as soon as she committed suicide, everybody was talking about how great she was and saying that they were friends, and her funeral was huge. And it was like, and then I got the script, and it just really struck me because I was so disgusted with the behavior of my school. It's one of the
That right there is some 4-6, 6-4 STEM stuff, I think. Like, it's not just hypocrisy, it's like a deeper level of hypocrisy, I think. And that also points to social awareness on her part.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also curious, like, I think I remember thinking she was a social self-pres.
Okay.
So that could be interesting too. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I'm open to changing my initial typing of her because I typed her, like I said, 3 years ago, and I was like way worse at typing. So she's like one of the indie,
Mhm.
like the 90s, early aughties.
very, very few movies that
And she really did play like that 4-6-9 trifix in all of these movies that she was in. Like she was just playing a version of herself, like Lydia in Beetlejuice.
Right.
Girl Interrupted, like it's like a classic
Yeah.
4-6-9 trifix. Edward Scissorhands, like love with the monster.
teenagers can watch and be blown away by and not be completely insulted. A lot of people, some very creepy, some great, think that movie saved them in high school. And I stand for all the losers and the nerds, what kids do to each other.
It was more 6 and 6 4 stuff. I think 6-9-4 again. She's just like buzzword factory for this try.
Well, I mean, I do think, okay, so I might like, I have some biases currently, I will admit, because I think 4 is under tight, and like 4 has been narrowed to like a degree that doesn't make sense. Like nobody qualifies really. And I do think it is very social 4 to be like identifying with like the losers and the outsiders. That also can be very 6-ish, but it's like you just kind of have to parse out if like it's hard when they're both present. Like, is it mainly coming from like an image like place or a kind of mental identification place?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, this is I'm interested to see where we land.
Whether in high school is as bad as
Again, this
what
is so the 4-6-9 tried to the max, like Veronica Sawyer. Chainsaw. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is also such a like the movie itself is also this trifix in some ways, I think.
Right.
It is like social commentary on
Hmm.
stupid teenagers are, and then it's like also about not aligning yourself with any retarded tribe. So
Hmm.
do to each other in war and divorce. Your high school scars are way deeper than your divorce scars or your Vietnam scars. There are a lot of really smart kids out there who don't want to be insulted by John Hughes. Not that I don't like the just
she's kind of coming in hot in this one. I like it.
club or anything like that. It's a brilliant piece of literature. And I mean, I call it literature because it really is. I held it up next to Catcher in the Rye and all the great books that I've read. I think originally they had another actress in mind. I got Dan Waters and Michael Lehman's phone numbers, and I literally started stalking them. I think a lot of actors were really.
She was born for that role.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem like wrapped up in herself maybe enough to be a 4-wing 3, or what I conceive of 4-wing 3s being like.
Really scared of the material. I remember a specific incident that will stay with me forever, where my agent at the time, who I left shortly after this happened, got down on her hands and knees and begged me not to do Heather's. She said that it would ruin my career and I would never work again. A lot of guys came in and
The fuck? Ew. That's an interesting story she just shared. That is like highlighting her outsider status again. Like I pick art over.
Right, exactly.
And she dated Johnny Depp, who, yeah, like to me is an obvious 4. She doesn't have that same kind of wounded quite quality, but I think that that's also 4-wing 5 versus 4-wing 3. And I have noticed, like, out of the 4 celebrities that I think are 4s, like they tend to like actually gravitate towards each other for some reason.
read for the part. And I remember the scene that they read was the scene where I'm fake hanging and they come in and they do the whole monologue to me. So for like 2 weeks, I had to stand on this chair and like pretend I'm hanging, and the actors would do the speech. They were, some of them were just so like, just didn't get the comedy of it. We're really just being very dramatic about it. And Christian just came in. He was so perfect. I couldn't wait to get to work. And
I hate they keep cutting these parts. I'm actually like very interested in what she's saying about this. But again, she's like highlighting, like, I mean, this could be also just be a 6 thing, but it's like I got it, but like the other people on set didn't get
Right.
it. I don't see her being a 9 core.
No.
I don't have a good reason other than she just doesn't seem. She's very located, like she knows who she is. And
in the morning, I never wanted the day to end. We were left completely alone, as far as I know, by the studio, because it was like no money. And I don't think anyone ever thought this movie was, anyone was going to see this movie. So it wasn't like the studio was there every day going, hurry up. I can't even.
Again, highlighting the underdog status.
But also like the art, like the artisty side, like I wasn't selling out. I was doing this movie just because I felt that it was worthwhile and of value.
That's true. She did pick
Could
pretty
be
fringe stuff. Yeah. She did pick pretty fringe stuff up until like recently, like her kind of comeback, where I think she's trying to get work now because she's been out of the game for a while, or was when she started making her comeback. She does seem more 60 in her adult years, like, but I don't know if that's from like anxiety and drugs or something.
And discussed cow tipping, because the tip cow, it's insane. The prop guys were below camera and they had to throw the mud up at us and not laugh. I remember turning the corner of my mouth down. I mean, if you watch the scene closely, I am like going. My favorite is, well, not my favorite, but I have so many favorite moments, is when I'm walking up the hill and I'm wiping the mud off and I see JD standing there, and you see Heather McNamara being date raped in the field. Like, it's so subversive and sick. Her journal entries.
And I like also that, like, yeah, she keeps highlighting sort of the worst aspects of it. It's like she was being hung, she's being raped. I had cow shit in my like, because that's what she wants you to remember about it. It's like she's highlighting the parts that, like, for her were like intriguing.
Yeah, the subversiveness.
And is that 6 wing 7 or is that 4 wing 3? Also, like, because
See it as either, but I think it is kind of a holy grail for a 3-4 mix to be like subversive and successful at the same time.
interesting. I also think because I think it's also almost harder to spot self-pres social 4 because they're the basic 4.
Are so hilarious and sad and tragic and funny and brilliant. I sometimes wondered, what if they got
Again, that's more 4 image investment. Like, it's tragic and it's funny and it's
Mhm.
everything because I'm deep. My character deep.
got cut out after we did the movie? And I was so glad they didn't, because they really showed the turmoil that she was going through. The original ending was the bomb was strapped to me, and I give this amazing speech on the steps of the school, and the camera moves in on my face, and then it cuts to black, and you hear my voice go boom. But I do love the ending as it is. I love that he lights my cigarette with his exploding his body. I remember dancing. I remember crying. I remember being really happy and really sad. There was so many people who were like, why is it called Heathers? I'm like, how can you ask that question? It's such a great title, Lethal Attraction. I think it was actually released as that in Europe. I don't know how Satan or devil worshippers got into this mix, but that's what we were called for a long time. I was going to do a movie after Heathers, and I got fired because the director saw Heathers and said he didn't want to work with anyone associated with the movie. I don't think of it as a movie that I would.
God, I think she might be a 4 wing 3.
Yeah, I think she is. I mean, she keeps emphasizing all it's subversive. No one wanted to hire me because of it. And she even like kind of self mythologizes with like, oh, the ending, like it pans in on me and it's so amazing. And lethal attraction and all these like dramatizing words. Um, I think 4 wing 3 is right. Cause like the thing is like people think 4, I think they don't give enough, like they think it's too sour, dour, and negative. And like when you think of the 4 with like either social first or second, or like a 6, and especially with a 6 wing 7 or 7 wing 6 fix, that like enlivens it and makes it more self-revelatory. And she's just like kind of going wild with like all these subversive underground, like really painting this image of like I was, you know, not like other actors or whatever.
No, I think you're right. And like it actually makes more sense to me that she would be 369 adjacent than 794 adjacent. Like, especially compared to what we just watched with Jane.
Yeah, it's very like you can, and I think you can see kind of the difference in just the way she's talking about herself, and like everything is related. Everything she's talking about her work is like kind of related to her image and how she sees herself, as opposed to, Jane, who's more like mentally pinging off of either the other person or like kind of more conceptualizing her work in a different way.
Yeah.
Was in a lot. I just think of it as a great film. And if I wasn't in it, it would still be my favorite film. I get asked about that more than anything else. I don't know who'd be up for it. I certainly would be. You have to go call Dan right now.
You could even say she looks 9 wing 1-ish here in some ways. Because she doesn't actually have that like 6, well, maybe a little bit when she's older, but she doesn't have the 6 eyes like bulging out of her head thing. This kind of does look more imagey.
Yeah, to me, she has a very imagey face.
Especially,
whatever.
especially if she's like self-pres social or social self-pres.
Mhm.
Because if she had SX, maybe I would be like, well, but she's clear. I think she's obviously sexual blind, or last rather.
Mhm.
You never get sick of that, do you?
Well, no, this is my third appearance on a talk show, so this is all kind of new to me, and it's amazing. Thank you very much.
She's kind of doing the six head thing of like, oh, I believe it, but you can tell she's like loving it too. So
You know, you should relax though. Technically, we're not really a TV show. We're sort of a radio show. We don't know what we are exactly. You know, I just met you for the first time. I went backstage, tried to surprise you in your dressing room, didn't work. But I wanted to tell you that I really like your name. I've always liked your name. When you first became a star, I always loved the name Winona.
Oh,
It's very
thank
pretty.
you.
Do you have other? I mean, I have a freakish name, and I was the only one in my family to have. You know, everyone else had names like Bob, Jeff, Jim, and then Conan. You know. Did you? Do your siblings have normal names pretty much?
Well, I have two brothers and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's names are Yuri, which he was named after the first Russian astronaut,
Right.
and Jubal.
Jubal.
Jubal. Is
Is he a hillbilly?
an old Western name.
Sure.
It's kind of cool. We hated them when we were kids, but now they're cooler. My sister's name is Sanyata, which is
we hated them when we were kids, but now they're cooler. That does seem like a little image flex, but maybe it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I relate to that. That's the story of my life with my legal name.
Buddhist for sacred silence.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I think of Jubal. I've never heard.
Actually, that is something interesting. Like, Belinda Carlisle also changed her name. I wonder if that's a consistent, like, I mean, anybody could do it, but that's actually a pretty consistent image type thing if I'm just sort of going through the Rolodex of celebrities in my mind that have changed their names to make it more like what they want themselves to be seen as.
Yeah, I mean, you're given a name, but then I think it's very imagey to want to like name yourself, right?
Like, I haven't heard a name like Jubal in a while. There's Jubal. I guess there's a Jubal in the Civil War.
Oh
I
my
think.
God, who cares?
Did your friends give your family like a hard time, or did they have unusual names too?
Well, growing up the way we grew up, most of my friends had pretty weird names too. There was, let's see, the crowd we ran with when I was a little kid was like Tatanka, Gulliver, Ooby Dooby.
Were these friends real?
And then when I started skateboarding. I mean, and then there was some wild names in there, but
What's the wildest one?
Well, it's kind of sad actually that his parents named him this. I had a friend who was on my skateboarding team named Ass, and that was actually yeah.
I mean, it is sort of like highlighting her strange upbringing.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's terrible. I mean,
That's so funny because the first 10 years of my life, I thought that was my name.
He's annoying me.
Is Cher's rebellious daughter.
Well, this movie's
I mean, I
so
know that
good.
you're how that innocent as that character was these days. Do you think they go through that anymore? That kind of pain?
well, I certainly did. I think to me, I never really considered it a period piece. It was just kind of a timeless story of teen angst, you know. I mean, I certainly went through all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, because Charlotte is the character. She's very
Also, look at how she's like dressed for this, like prime time. She's like dressed up. And this wasn't like when it was like fashionable to be like a hot topic goth or whatever.
Right.
you know, one minute she wanted to be a nun and the next minute she wanted to have sex with somebody and the next minute it was something else. And she felt bad about that, but she didn't, you know, that's what happens with teenagers is they feel guilty for having completely normal feelings. So, you know.
And for not living up to what their parents think they should be and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
Did you ever want to be a nun?
No, no.
Me neither. So where does mermaids come into it? It's a child.
Like you can hear the six like talking points in that, but six core.
Charming movie. Well, why is it called Mermaids?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It sounds very symbolic, so I'm sure it means something, but I guess it's over my head.
Yeah, but I mean, the little girl in that, your sister, your younger sister, would it be anything to do with the fact that she wants to be an Olympic swimmer, so she always wears a swimming cap wherever she goes?
Also, she's like not wanting to answer about someone else's creative decisions. Like, I don't know if that means image type 4, but she like it's like she's like it's not about her perspective. It's like
Oh, she wears a swimming cap.
Right.
Yeah.
She's a character, isn't she?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you like working on that? I mean, never appear with children. You're no longer a child. I mean, they tend to steal the scenes a bit, don't they? Little kids.
Well, she didn't. She was like a real professional. It was her first movie, but she really handled it just like an adult would. She was very, very wise. It was a little bit scary how smart she was.
and this is so this one's different than the one we just watched. She was way more excited to talk about Heather's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very candid. Oh, I think I already have this one open.
Still just a teenager herself when she first became the girl other teenagers wanted to be. The smart girl with the gowns and the guys and the eyes. And now she is the executive producer of a film about a young girl's revealing journey to the edge of mental illness. She says she made it for all the young women like her, and not the girl in.
I mean, that sounds more sexy, but I don't know if that's true. Perhaps.
But the real one, who would drive through Los Angeles night after night, feeling lost and alone.
I used to drive around at night and listen to music because I couldn't sleep. And I was driving around and I was wishing so badly that I had someone to talk to, a friend, someone, and I didn't. And I saw this outdoor magazine stand, and I saw myself on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and it said something like Winona Ryder, the luckiest girl in the world.
This is Image telling us.
Yeah.
She's
very much so. It's
telling scene again, like.
And I think it's very like 3-4 range to like, you know, you kind of like work towards like having that image that, you know, ended her up on that magazine, or you work towards that kind of a career. But then when it's reflected back to you, you're kind of like, ew, gross. Like, that's not me. I'm not this like shiny, like perfect or whatever kind of person. I'm all messed up and like fucked up and whatever. So that is 3-4-ish to me.
Yeah, she's correcting her image in this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is very like, I mean, this feels intentional to me, but I don't know. Like, she set the scene.
Mm-hmm.
We're driving with her. She's feeling so sad. She has no friends. I mean, that's the 469 the story.
And it broke my heart because there I was, you know, in so much pain and feeling so confused, feeling so lost in my life. I wasn't allowed to complain because I was so lucky, you know, and I was so blessed, and I made a lot of money, and, you know, my problems weren't real problems. And if I'm as nauseated as the next person when actors complain about their lives. You know, we are blessed, we are lucky, but the stuff that I was going through was difficult.
but I still wanted to talk about it and say how I'm different. My pain's stronger.
Yeah.
No.
If there's a gift in this film that you're giving the young women, what is it?
I would hope that it would be some sort of comfort, something that makes them feel less alone. I had such a passion for this material. It was so funny, so insightful.
Is there a paragraph in there that made you have to do it? Have to?
Oh, conveniently, she has it open to the passage.
I love the
Okay.
first line. The first line of the book is
And she's also making it about her, like her personal connection to the work, so that it's like her work sort of more
Right.
than just like shilling some fucking movie.
people ask, how did you get in there? What they really want to know is if they're likely to end up there as well. I can't answer the real question. All I can tell them is it's easy.
Watching for it to land. I think she's a 4w3. 6
Yeah, yeah.
That's why she seems more like attachable, I guess, if you will, is because she's like,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. I wonder still about her stacking, like,
yeah, it's got to be SPSO or social self-pres.
yeah, one of the two. I wonder would social it could be, the like 369 whatever adjacency or whatever it's called, or it could be social, like that wanting your story to, like, you're seeing yourself in like the context of the world. So I'm not sure. They might lean like, I don't know. Her energy feels kind of like SPSO, but I could also see some OSP, and like especially in the content of her like social awareness and like being very aware of like where her place is in the context of society.
I wonder though, I wonder if she was social self-pres, if there would be a more scathing kind of attitude. It's like,
That's true.
like social self-pres 3w4s and 4w3. Like, I mean, I can only think of like Morrissey for social self-pres 4w3 off the top of my head. But
That
social
is true.
self-pres 3w4s can be pretty scathing. Like, like Brett Easton Ellis, for example. So she probably is self-pres social. And again, that would make her even more like of the people, like the most people-y for
Yeah,
pulp.
that makes sense.
But she also did stand out like as this sort of, oh, she's the like sad girl. Like that was her niche or whatever. And that was like she literally did pick films that just reinforce her image. Like I can't think of a single movie she's been in where she's like not playing
Right.
kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I think is very true.
She is the daughter of hippie intellects who raised her for a while in a commune, for a while in a teepee, with something missing.
What's really hilarious is that we built the teepee, and every night we would get soaked when we would build the fire. They forgot to put a hole in the top.
She says as a little girl she lived for the movies and entered acting school when she was just 12. That same year, a talent scout saw her.
You feel yours and leave mine alone, eh?
And she quickly began to get parts, but the ones the scripts identified as the geeky girl or the ugly girl.
Millions of people were judging me. And so, not to whine, but it is difficult to be judged, that to be reviewed as a teenager. I remember one cast.
Yeah, this is all image shit.
Mm-hmm.
So imagey. I think sixes do identify as nerds also. So I wouldn't have a problem playing like the loser or something. She's like wanting it to be a specific type of loser.
Mm-hmm.
And she also, this is an interesting thing that I think is 6 fixed, and also having social awareness is, and probably maybe this is being an image type, but it's like she keeps drawing attention to, I know what people say, and like,
Mhm.
but like it's like
Right.
she's getting ahead of you before you get to make that decision about her. She's controlling how you're going to see her just because she's already eliminated this other option for you.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Chills.
Director who later became a producer. I was in the middle of doing a reading for her, and she stopped me and she said, listen, you are not pretty enough to be an actress. You have to find something else that you want to do, because you're not going to make it.
But in fact, fame struck like lightning, fast and searing. There was the big public breakup with her first boyfriend, Johnny Depp. The exhaustion of too many movies by day and fierce insomnia at night. She says, looking back, she had episodes of depression as a child, but like so many girls, all the uncertainties came crashing in at once in her late teens.
What was the first clear sign you were in trouble? I was doing The House of the Spirits, this movie, and we were doing a sequence where I am being interrogated and tortured and beaten and raped. And I realized,
Oh, what the fuck? They were such a photogenic couple. More points
Mhm.
for image. Okay.
Hi, I'm Winona Ryder, and I'm going to answer some trivia questions about myself. Let's see how I do. Where was I born? I was born in a farmhouse in Winona, Minnesota. That's true. And I was what they called a shoelace baby. I was a little early. And back in 71, what you did is you boiled a shoelace to tie off the umbilical cord. So that's some trivia. Not a lot of people know that. When
Yeah, I think this is SPSO image. It's like
Mhm.
giving us this little snippet of like an image, I guess. She's giving us the snapshot effect of like this moment, but it's in that SPSO kind of.
when is my birthday? October 29th, 1971. I have the same birthday as Fanny Bryce and Kate Jackson, according to the almanac I grew up with. What did I want to be when I was younger? I think I wanted to be a writer because that's what my parents are writers, and they're incredible writers. And so I wanted to be like them, and I loved to read. And so I think that was sort of what I was hoping to do.
Winona, you know, the internet says that you want to be a competitive skateboarder.
Oh, well, I did go through that stage. I was on a skate team, believe it or not. I knew that.
This is kind of interesting. I mean, that you could argue that's not what I would say, but I don't know.
Mhm.
4wing369. She didn't become a writer, so
Mhm.
I also think all 4s and 4 fixers identify with being a writer.
That I didn't have what it took to skate professionally, but I was in that scene, and I did see some of the great skaters, meaning I was in the same auditorium as them. According to IMDb, how many roles have I had? I have no idea. Do they count everything? Oh God, I don't know. 68. How many times have I worked with Tim Burton? Beetlejuice?
Oh, that's another point. He loves his 4s as well.
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands, Frank and Mimi. Help me out, guys. I did a video with him for the band The Killers. It's an absolute dream. He's just
Also, like 6, 9 4s, they're more like, she's kind of seems more anxious now that she's older, and there's something kind of a bit. I think she might have something going on. But she's not doing the 6y like Like when she's whining, it's like intentionally whining. I feel pretty sold on her being a 4-wing 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, 6-wing 7, cuteness in the head. Awareness of like what other people think and her place in that. But like, even if you look at how she shows up in all these things, it's like the way that she dresses is so like specifically like, I'm the sad girl.
Yeah.
And I don't think that 9 cores do this kind of shaping or directing or weaving in the
Right. I think she's an image type. I think she's a 4-6-9, sad girl trifix. I also think, it's easy to look back now and think, which I don't agree that like 6 should be seen as more ordinary than 4 to begin with, but like for her time, like she was quite original and like she was defining her, I feel, just in not a lot of these interviews, other than the ones that are just like trivia factoids, like defining her image and her identity. And everything's kind of relating back to that.
Winona Ryder, delightful surprise. Self-pres social, 4-wing 3, 6-wing 7, 9-wing 1.